Hello, this is Steven Hour, and yes, we're back with another Green Hornet 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode Eat, Drink, and Be Dead. So without any further ado, let's hop straight into this review. We open this episode at Dirk's dairy farm, where two black people, I assume are gangsters, are trying to leave after dissatisfied with the deal that Dirk has made to them. And apparently it's because the offer was not a fair offer, and the two end up leaving. Dirk, clearly upset that the deal obviously didn't go his way, ends up leaving to hop into a helicopter which was ready. He then ends up flying in a helicopter above these said gangsters in their car and ends up dropping bombs and essentially killing them, as it eventually results in the car essentially being blown up. Already we want to know some questions. We do the usual opening credits and we get back to where we left off. We now go to the Daily Sentinel, where Britt Reed and Mike Ackford get a news report. It is revealed to us that there is a vicious bootlegging racket, in other words selling illegal alcohol underground on the black market, has been plaguing the city and is responsible for these two people's death, as these two have been prominent in the bootlegging racket. And realizing that the Daily Sentinel is causing more heat on this racket, and so Derek, who is obviously the leader of this bootlegging organization that has been controlling this monopoly, realized in order for them to thrive even further, they need to get rid of Britt Reed. And many of them agree, but however, they need to do it discreetly, one that will leave them free for suspicion to continue this enterprise. We then go back to Britt Reed's apartment, where Mike Axford comes in and asks if he could just lay off the bootlegging racket because his office will catch them, but they just need a matter of time. We also revealed that he is stumped. He doesn't know how this is going on, that they can't find the major still that is distributing the bootlegging alcohol, and they don't know where it could possibly be. Britt Reed possibly has a theory that they could be held in one big place rather than small distilleries. Mark doesn't think, Frank Scanlon, the DA, doesn't think so, and thinks it's probably the small distilleries, but most importantly asks, where could they hide it in a place like that? It has to be very big and undetectable, and it's quite impossible. But Britt Reed always finds a way. So, just as he walks out, Axford asks, Scanlon, asks what Reed's about to do, and he says he's about to have a little night on the town. As a result, he and Kato get dressed up in their crime-fighting outfits and go to a local watering hole. But they end up interrogating one of the bar owners and ask where does he get his supply of alcohol, after asking for a drink, of course. First he's scared, but of course the Green Hornet, pretending to be the mobster he is, tries to muscle in, and as a result, the bartender agrees to help out, obviously in fear of the Green Hornet. And basically, what he says was, the bartender reveals that he has to pick up and pay for the deliveries, and it gets picked up at different places, but the call usually comes in at 3 o'clock. As a result, we then go to the next day, where Dirk arrives at his farm and asks how the operation's going. He says good, and he even offers the person in charge a big bonus because of his hard work, and tells it's time to make the deliveries and put out all the security. As a result, they call up the bartender. He gets his delivery, but he also gets another phone call from Britt Reed, posing as the Green Hornet, asking for the time and location. He gives it up, but warns him that this mustn't be a double cross or he will pay for it. Britt Reed and Kato quickly get in their Black Beauty and go to the location, but they also use the scanner to tap the thing, and essentially find that the delivery is being taken place courtesy of milk trucks. They then follow the milk truck back to Derek's dairy farm, and it's clear to Britt Reed that Derek is clearly the one behind the bootlegging racket. He then gets a call from Casey, who tells her that Mike Axford's been kidnapped, and for the ransom for the Daily Sentinel to stop their expose on the bootlegging racket, or Mike Axford is essentially, gets axed off. With nowhere else, we then cut to Derek meeting with all the other members of the bootlegging operation, and he informs them that he has gotten contact with the Green Hornet, who asked for a meeting, and all the gangsters in here are frightened, because they don't like it. Not only is law enforcement after the Green Hornet, but all the gangsters are after the Green Hornet. This puts them right in the middle. However, Derek knows not to trifle, but hear him out and find a new course of action. With a special, very colorful entrance befitting of the Green Hornet, he comes into the room and essentially offers his services to them, and of course, and asks to be a partner. Though he agrees it'll be a silent partner, and he won't be that greedy. He asks for a very small take of the operation, and to show him good faith, he will gladly give him Britt Reed as an opening. Of course, they think he's crazy. He thinks that he might be crazy, but he says no. And of course, they agreed to go along with it, not just because of his reputation, but also how good this would be. They get a partner who won't ask for much and remains to be silent, but also they get rid of Britt Reed, the person that's really causing problems for their bootlegging operation. And of course, they agreed to meet at Derek's farm, not here because it'll probably draw too much attention, but out in the country with fresh air. He then leaves and says they'll work out the details later. We then go back to Britt Reed's apartment, where Britt Reed is talking to Scanlon, and he says, well, why can't the police just go in and apprehend them all at the farm? But Britt Reed is worried that Mike could get hurt. It's clear that Britt Reed really cares about Mike, and we definitely will see this later, that Mike really cares about Britt Reed later in the episode. As of course, they go according to the plan that Britt Reed has planned out. We then cut to the Black Beauty driving to Derek's farm, and Britt Reed is supposedly pushed out of his car, and the Black Beauty drives off. Derek and all his men go at gunpoint around Reed and bring him into the farm, to the dairy farm, and it's revealed a lot of what they plan to do. It turns out, with Britt Reed getting killed, they also happen to have the Green Hornet be blamed for the Britt Reed's disappearance. This would result in their exploits of the bootlegging rap and being dropped from the front page for more pressing news for the apprehension of the Green Hornet. Of course, with the Green Hornet being a part of the bootlegging operation and agreeing to be a silent partner, he's still going to get his cut of the operation. It's a pretty good scheme by the bootleggers' part. Britt Reed is brought in with Mike Axford. Axford is shocked to see Reed, but also worried if he's okay, clearly showing that Axford really cares about Reed, and Reed really cares about Mike, even saying that he was planning on giving him a raise. Just as they were clearly about to be killed, the Black Beauty comes and starts firing rockets around the farm, asking for an increase in his percentage on the operation and a down payment right now. Derek thinks he still outsmarts the Green Hornet, goes with one of his men, obviously, to the helicopter, something that had been established earlier in the episode. Britt Reed uses the opportunity to plant a device on Derek's farm to essentially cause an explosion, but knocks out Mike Axford and quickly takes him out back, where the Black Beauty picks both him and Axford up and drives off. However, the helicopter is following and starts firing bombs down below, trying to essentially explode the car. Just when Derek thinks that he's exploded the car, as there's a bunch of smoke around the car, they land the helicopter and go to check inside, but find that Kato and, by extension, the Green Hornet, not there, only Axford, only for Derek and his men to get knocked out. And just as they're about to apprehend the two and tie them up, the explosion happens, essentially destroying the farmhouse, and they agree to call Scanlon in for the roundup. We end the episode with Mike Axford, Frank Scanlon, Casey, and Britt Reed in his office, congratulating all in their part in destroying the bootlegging racket. However, Mike does wonder why the Green Hornet decided to help, but Frank Scanlon says, let's just be glad he was on our side this once. Mike then leaves, but inquires about Reed possibly giving him a raise, but he said he doesn't remember saying that, but Mike leaves saying he thought he did. But just as before Casey's about to leave, he asks the cashier to ask a bit of an increase to Mike Axford's wages. And we end the episode there. Honestly, again, Kato, Bruce Lee, doesn't get much chance to really do anything in this episode. Then again, that's kind of his role, I'll admit, for the majority of the series. Mike Axford is such a fun character, and he's used in peril again, something that will happen quite a bit in the series. And also I find that Frank Scanlon doesn't get much to do in the episode as well, and Casey, honestly, quite wasted here. Britt Reed, The Green Hornet, by Van Williams, of course, gets a lot to do in this episode, and again, it is called The Green Hornet for a reason. But of course, to talk about the villain. Derek is essentially a gangster, but he's not the usual type street tough gangsters we've seen earlier. He has a more refined, almost suaveness, I would say, to him. And I really like that. He was played by Jason Ervers, and honestly, I felt that he was perfectly suited. To be fair, like I said, most of the Green Hornet villains are really just gangsters, and honestly, he's more suave. And clearly, like many of these villains are really meant to be one-shots, I highly doubt characters like that would have all been brought back for the next season if there was to have been a second season. But despite that, he's fun and he's very memorable. And honestly, he makes an impact. Eat, Drink, and Be Dead is honestly a fun Green Hornet episode, and I loved it. It's definitely one of the more fun ones, and I like the idea that they're busting up a bootlegging racket, and I like how they say it's reminiscent of the Roaring Twenties. I find it weird that they're trying to bust up a bootlegging racket in the 60s, considering that bootlegging of that kind would have been out by then, but it's fun nonetheless. It's a fun episode. Would I love more Kato? Yes. But despite that, I can really enjoy this episode, and I think you'll get a good kick out of this episode. There we have it. That was Eat, Drink, and Be Dead. A really fun and really good episode. Join us next time when we review the next episode, The Beautiful Dreamer, which is actually the first part in a two-parter. So I can't wait when we get to review that episode. So until next time, this has been the Steven Hour doing a Green Hornet episode review, and until next time, so long for now.